I then entered the title tags, or the keywords into the H1 tag, and then I sprinkled out some keyword variations throughout the text. Those simple changes were enough to skyrocket us to #1 in 2 weeks. What's up, everybody? First of all, I just want to say thank you to everyone that came to this event. It's the first DCxSGN event, and for those of you who've been in the community for a while, it's a great community, and this is really cool just to see everyone here. So many familiar faces out there. Just thank you guys all for coming. Thank you, Chris, for organizing this. It was really awesome. And thank you to everyone who helped me prepare for this speech. As Chris said, this is my first time speaking, so I was pretty stressed out about it, trying to get everything, sounding cool and good and all that. So, anyways, for those of you guys that don't know me, my name is James Ruhle. I'm a 27-year-old entrepreneur from California. I've been living abroad for about 2 years, and I've been in Saigon for about 1.5 years now. So I'm going to talk about a couple things today, but before I get into the meat of it, the case study I want to talk about, I want to talk about a little bit of background for me, where I've come from, and a bit of my story, my entrepreneurial journey, because I think there's going to be some good things that you guys are going to get from that. So this is me 5 years ago. Okay, that's not working. This is me 5 years ago. I was... Okay. Okay. Cool. Okay, so this is me 5 years ago. As you can see, things are not going very well. I was 2 years into my entrepreneurial journey at this time. I was unemployed. I was absolutely broke. I was living at home, and I was a college dropout, watching all my friends graduate and getting good jobs, while I just sat there slamming my head against the wall, trying to make a couple dollars online. I really did not do well for a very long time. I failed miserably, constantly trying new things, constantly failing businesses, constantly trying to build new websites. It was pretty bad. I was at the point where I thought, I kind of want to give up. This is ridiculous. But about 3 years later, about 3 years of this later, things started to come together for me. And I started to see a lot more success from all the failure that I'd come. So I kind of want to tell you guys who I am and why I'm up here, some of the successes I've seen over the last 2 years. Number one, I co-founded a tech startup based in Los Angeles called HireCar. We are a company that is kind of a middleman between Uber and Lyft drivers who want to rent a car and people who have an extra car to rent out. In the past 2 years, we've taken that from $0 to $10 million in revenue, and it's growing still by about 10% every single month. It's been a fantastic journey. It's been a lot of fun, and I've learned so much from it. Number two, I started an authority website. For those of you guys that aren't aware, I'm an SEO by trade. I started an authority website, and I took it from $0 to $25,000 a month in monthly profit. It runs completely passively with nothing from me, and yeah, that's been a great learning experience as well. Just a little caveat on that for those of you guys who are not aware, maybe you are aware. As of yesterday, 2 days ago, Amazon came out with a pretty cool update on Amazon commission structure, meaning that they cut my commission by about half. So that $25,000 a month I was making is now about $12,000 a month. So that sucked. But these things happen in business, and you just got to learn to roll with the punches. And there's going to be a lot of opportunity from that. And number three, with that authority site, we were able to launch our own FBA and e-commerce products, and we are hoping to hit $3 million in sales in our first year, in 2017. So that's me, basically. And I think a lot of you guys might be wondering, well, how did you go from this dude, this couch guy, sitting on the couch doing nothing for 5 years to where you're at today? And I think before I get into the case study, I just want to go over a couple different mindset changes that really were just absolutely game-changing for me. Number one, I started traveling and meeting people. I'm not going to go into this one too much. You guys are obviously already traveling and meeting people. But going from living at home on my couch with no other entrepreneur friends in my hometown to moving to Mexico and then moving to Saigon, being surrounded by hungry, smart, super intelligent people that you can bounce ideas off of was just obviously game-changing. This is me at DCxSGN 2015. Just super, I can really pinpoint where things started going well, and it was when I started traveling and meeting people. Number two, I started spending money. So what I mean by this is I started experimenting almost kind of recklessly and wasting money on different projects, throwing money at anything I could possibly do to figure out what works. Any money I got from, any little bit amount of money that I got from the business I had, I was doing experiments and I was trying to just try things out. So yeah, that was obviously game-changing for me. The thing that I realized is that I wasn't really wasting money, I was just learning. So if something didn't work out, I learned that that's not going to work out. And when something does work out, I would scale it and make back all the money that I wasted trying other things. And finally, this is the most important thing of all that you guys have probably heard a million times, but I just can't explain how important this is because I still see people that are super successful that are not doing this. I stopped working in my business. I stopped writing my own content on my websites. I stopped doing maintenance on the blog when things would go down. I stopped managing my pay-per-click marketing. I hired everything out and realized that the only thing that I need to focus on is how to make the numbers go up every month. And once I started thinking about that, who do I need to hire? What strategies do I need to do? What can I do to simply make the numbers go up every single month? Every single business I was involved in exploded. So, I hope this was beneficial to some of you guys who are kind of at that tipping point. A lot of you guys are probably at the $3,000 to $4,000 a month range, trying to figure out how to take it to the next level. And those three things for me were just game changers. So I hope that was beneficial to some of you guys out there. Yeah. But the main thing I want to talk about today is how we were able to compete with and eventually take down a Mark Cuban-backed company. They're backed by Mark Cuban, obviously, so they had tons of free press anytime they did anything. They had $30 million in funding, and they had a one-year head start on us. So you guys are probably thinking, wow, that's pretty crazy. How did you do that? You must have been insane to try and compete with a company like that. And when I first got invited to be a co-founder of the company, I also kind of thought that. So I looked at things, I took a close look. As I said, I was in SEO. I looked at the SEO landscape, and I noticed that there was a massive opportunity here. So this is why I was confident that we could compete. Breeze, which was the name of the company, Breeze, they were completely ignoring SEO. This $30 million company had completely ignored this massive traffic acquisition strategy. And obviously, being an SEO, I knew we could compete here. Number two, it wasn't just that Breeze was ignoring it. The SEO landscape was completely barren. There was no one competing. There was massive search volume for a product that didn't exist yet. People were searching for car rentals for Uber, but no one was providing that as a service. There was no search results that were showing up for that. You could even say the SEO landscape was a barren wasteland. Okay, so as soon as I was brought on, I jumped into the website. I made a few very, very basic SEO changes, basically as basic as it gets. And within 2 weeks, we were ranked #1 for a massively profitable keyword. Okay, so what changes did I make? Pretty simple. You can see here, I changed the title tag, and for those of you guys that aren't familiar, how to see the title tag of a website, right here, just look right there, that'll show you what the title tag is. I entered our keywords into there after doing about 5 minutes of keyword research. I then entered the title tags, or the keywords into the H1 tag, and then I sprinkled out some keyword variations throughout the text. Those simple changes were enough to skyrocket us to #1 in 2 weeks. Now I want to just make this clear that a lot of you guys are in very competitive industries, and just doing this is not going to be enough to take you to #1. But for us, as I said, there was no competition at the time, so this was more than enough. So a couple interesting things happen when you're you're ranked #1 for a term that's related to Uber and your startup and you're doing something new. People get interested in you. People will ask you questions, and people start to just naturally link to you from massive press. So we started getting free press from tons. Basically, every media company out there was writing about us, and we didn't ask for it. It was totally free. CNN, Washington Post, Chicago Tribune, TechCrunch, USA Today, Wall Street Journal, and Forbes, Fortune, ABC News. These were just a few people who wrote about us. As you guys know, probably, these were also, not only did it drive tons of traffic, but they were also amazing backlinks for us, which were super helpful when things got more competitive in the SEO industry, or in the SEO landscape, helping us to stay at #1 throughout all of that. So another benefit of being #1 is obviously tons of traffic. About 3 months into the company, we were getting 10,000 leads every month, totally free. We had no money at the time, no funding yet, and we were competing with a company that had $30 million in funding. We eventually ended up finding out from an insider over at Breeze that even with them spending $1 million on ads every single month, they were not coming close to 10,000 leads a month. So what happens when you're spending $1 million a month on ad space and you're competing with a company that's spending 0? You go out of business. So you can see here, Breeze, a San Francisco startup that leases cars to driver for Uber and Lyft, has suspended its service. This was massive for us. Basically took down our only competitor and really just helped us skyrocket everything, every part of our business. So I want to talk a little bit about what Breeze did wrong. There's a lot of things they did wrong. They had terrible customer service. They basically had a pretty shitty version of our service. And there's a lot of things that went wrong other than the SEO. But for me, I'm going to talk about the SEO. For one, they completely ignored SEO until it was too late. They tried to do some stuff at the end, but ended up just not working out for them. So they completely ignored SEO, which is something a lot of companies do. And when you ignore SEO, you're leaving free customers on the table. And this is something that I see so many companies out there doing, and it's always just a pet peeve of mine. They do pointless blogging. You've probably heard somewhere or another, oh yeah, you got a blog, like just, do 3 blogs a week, whatever. And you don't really have any idea what that means, right? Without a concrete strategy behind your blogging, there's no point. So some of the blogs that they put out, top Halloween costume for Uber drivers, driver interviews, and CEO interviews. These are kind of interesting. People might be a little bit interested in it, but no one is searching for that. No one cares. No one's searching for a CEO interview of Breeze, So that was a huge waste of time for them and a huge wasted opportunity. There's so much search volume around Uber that there's so many blogs to write about. So what we did, our strategy, Uber and Lyft car requirements, car rentals for Uber drivers, how to rent a car for Uber and Lyft. These were all blogs that we wrote that ended up ranking very highly, that all ended up driving a ton of business to us. People don't have a car, or people are wondering about the car requirements, but their car doesn't fit. Hey, you can rent from us. Car rentals for Uber drivers, or best car rentals for Uber drivers. I'm sorry, I should say best cars for Uber drivers. But if you don't have the best car for Uber drivers, rent a car through us. How to rent a car for Uber and Lyft, rent a car through us. Our blog has been a massive part of our customer acquisition strategy because of keywords like these. So I'm not going to go into kind of how you can come up with a strategy for writing your blog. There's tons of information out there. But what I will do is give you guys a couple of very easy wins. Take you about 5 minutes. You can do it right now of how you can find a couple really interesting blogs that people are wondering about in your industry. Number 1, use Quora. Quora is a massive questions and answers, basically Yahoo Answers of 2017. Millions of people asking millions of questions every single day. You go there, type in your main keyword, and see what people are wondering about. See what people are asking about. I went in there, I spent about 5 minutes while I was preparing for this, and I typed in drive for Uber. What time is the best time of day to drive for Uber X? What are the car requirements to drive for Uber Black? How much money do Uber drivers make? These are all things people are wondering about. You can write a blog about every single one of these questions, and then you can take that blog, take that URL, post it as a response to these guys. Drive traffic that way. Super easy wins, super easy way to get lots of traffic to your website and answer questions that people are wondering about. Yeah, so number 2, look at your top competitors. So this one's super easy. You can do this right now. I was in the Philippines with a buddy of mine who I met at DCBKK. He's got a really successful SaaS business, but he gets no business from SEO. I asked him why. I took a look at his website. He was obviously ignoring SEO. I was super hungover with him one day, and I was like, all right, I'll help you out. I don't understand his business. I didn't understand it at the time. I still don't really understand it, but I told him, give me your top competitor's website. I copied the title tag of the top competitor, pasted it into his, and within 1 month, I get this message from him. And this is not fake, I promise you. Dude, #1 page of Google, all you, James for the win. Seeing increased traffic? Yep, he says definitely increased. So that took honestly about 5 minutes of me lazily looking at his website, hungover, implementing one very simple change, and it was massive for him. He gets more business now. What I really want to try and get across to you guys is just how easy it is to implement very simple SEO changes. A lot of agencies out there will charge you $5,000 a month to do these things that I've just talked about. So these are things that you can do in literally 30 minutes with just, it's super simple. So before I finish things up, I just want to talk about some cheeky little tricks that I've done also for helping drive more traffic to our website. Number 1, get other legit sites to post content about you. Even if your site is not that strong, if you don't have a very SEO strong website, you don't rank for very many keywords, you can still guest post, reach out to other very strong sites, write a keyword optimized post for them, include some keywords in there, and have it funnel traffic back to you. One thing we did was I was doing some keyword research for HireCar, and I realized a lot of people were actually looking for reviews about us. There was no one who had written a review about us yet, so I reached out to one of the top influencers in the industry, ridesharingguy.com, and asked him to write a review for us. He charged us $2,500, which we instantly said yes to, and he ranks #1 for HireCar review. We get a massive amount of business from this article because he ranks #1 for HireCar review now. This was, we've done experiments like this before, and this kind of goes back to the mindset things I talked about earlier about spending money, not being afraid to spend money. We probably spent about $10,000 on different articles trying to get people to write articles for us, ranking for them. It doesn't always work, but when it does work, it makes up for all the money that you've already spent. That's kind of just what I want to drive home. Don't be afraid to spend money. This has been massively important for us. And number 2, this one's a little bit more advanced, but I'm going to give you guys a little bit of a free PDF at the end to kind of help you figure that out. But basically, dominating the info box, which is just insanely powerful. Some of you guys may have heard of a company called Turo. You can't really see it here, but Turo is one of the biggest startups in America. They are worth $500 million, and they're really a behemoth in the car rental space. What we were able to do is just do a little bit of hacking on the website, a little bit of SEO wizardry, and we were able to get our article ranked above them right here about listing your car. This is listing or renting your car out. This is a massively competitive, massively profitable keyword for Turo and for us. But because of just some very simple changes we made on the website, we're able to rank above them and steal that #1 spot from them. Like I said, this is a little bit more advanced, but I'm going to give you guys a little bit of a present here. For those of you guys, maybe some of you have heard of him. His name's Matt Diggity. He's one of the best SEOs in the world. Very smart guy. I asked him if he's a good friend of mine. I asked him if he would mind if I gave away his on-site SEO guide. He said no problem, but just you got to opt in, unfortunately. It's super simple. You just opt in right here. It'll redirect you right to the SEO guide. It's an on-site SEO guide. Super helpful, super in-depth. It's going to give you all the information you need about getting the info box, about doing your H1 tags, title tags, keyword research, basically anything you could ever wonder in your life about on-site SEO. You can use this. And here's a little trick. Take that on-site SEO, give it to a VA, because you really shouldn't be working in your business. You should be working on your business. So I hope that this was helpful to some of you guys. And yeah, that's basically it. And so I'm not sure how much time I have left, but
does anybody have any questions for James?
Hey James, for the friend that in the Philippines that had a Facebook message that said you're the man, what were the suggestions you gave him as far as the changes to his title tags or something like that?
yeah, I mean, it really was as simple as like copy your competitors. I actually went into his competitor's site, copied the title tag, Control C, and pasted it into his. Changed the branding, and that was it. We also changed the H1 tag, I believe. I showed you guys how to do the H1 tag earlier, but the H1 tag, those two things were more than enough to boost him to the top.
Any other questions?
James, thanks. Great speech. Can you briefly speak to the funding history of HireCar?
Yeah, so we've got, since all of that happened, what exactly do you want to know?
There's seed round versus, you guys do fundraising? Yeah,
so we had a lot of trouble getting funding, which sucks because I really believe we had a better, everything was just better, but no one in the company really knew how to get money. So eventually we did end up getting a little bit we got around $100,000, which kind of kept us alive. And we almost went out of business at one point. But we ended up getting about $100,000, which kept us alive, and then another $500,000, and then now we've had about $3 million. We're trying to raise another $5 million.
Question. So without going into too much detail, how do you outsource your content marketing strategy?
Yeah, so that's quite complicated, but the content marketing strategy, I mean, SOPs, very, very, very detailed SOPs. I hire out a lot. Actually, at this point, I actually have a very good content marketing agency I go to because I don't want to even think about it. There's someone I trust. I mean, and that's a super important thing is finding someone you trust to do a good job. So part of the wasting money is testing out a lot of different contractors, finding someone that you really, really trust to do a good job. Once you find that person, you find out this is profitable for you. It's just do it. No reason not to.
Like a content manager to like take care of your content writers?
Yeah, well, like I said, we have a content marketing agency who I think is one of the best in the world, who does everything for us now. I've completely just taken that off of my mental bandwidth and hired it out. Yeah.
All right, last question, anybody? Where is it?
Thanks. What was the first most important hire that you made, or the first big hire that you made?
Right.
For your site?
Well, I wouldn't say for the authority site, but looking back on things maybe about 2 years ago, the very first time I really realized how valuable it was to hire out, like, I'll just tedious bullshit work, was when I was doing kind of gray hat SEO, doing PBNs. I don't know if you guys are familiar with that, but I was doing all of that myself. I was buying them, setting them up, doing all this, and eventually I trained someone how to do that. And as soon as I did that, I realized, holy crap, like, I have so much time now. I can do so much more. So that was a big step. So if you guys are all kind of on the edge about hiring out yet, like, just do it. It'll change your life.
All right, everybody, thank James.